So I don't know if you imagine this or not, but IT directors don't usually do a lot of public speaking. And so when I want to succeed with something, I typically go to the great oracle Google and ask it, what am I supposed to do? So according to Google, if you accomplish certain steps and certain things, you'll be successful. So first it says to dress sharp, so I picked up my favorite pink shirt, which I only wear on special occasions, and I even wore a jacket, which is behind me, but just know I wore a jacket just for you guys and girls. And it also said that you should shoot, there's a couple other goals, so if you could all help me just a little bit, if all of you could scoot in your seats just a little bit to your right, just a tiny bit. Bear with me, I'm serious, just a little. Okay, now scoot back to your, okay. Now if you all want to stand up just for a moment, just one moment. Okay, sit down. Now put your hand to your chest. Okay, now when you go home tonight, if anybody asks you about Course 107, you can tell them you were moved in your seat, you were moved, you were uplifted, and your hearts were touched. And so I've accomplished what Google told me to. So the secret to, if you read Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, he said one of the ways that he was very successful is he found a good team to work with. And he said it's always surrounding yourself with people who are much brighter than yourself and getting them to do the work that makes you look incredibly awesome. So that's exactly what I've done. On my team I have Alan Hughes, whom I stumbled across about 15 years ago, and bought a little piece of software from him, and I called for some technical support, and he was the chief cook and bottle washer for the company, so he also did tech support. And since then, we have done a lot of incredible projects together, and he is a highly talented developer. He comes out of Tennessee. Alan Hughes, folks, he's a fantastic, brilliant man. And then also when it comes to Laserfiche, we were fortunate enough to get coupled with Sheila McCune. Initially, when I met Sheila, it was funny because I was pretty certain that, she's a smaller VAR, and I was like, oh, there's no way that she's going to be able to meet my needs. She has so vastly, and she's exceeded our expectations in every way to such an extent that I would happily choose her over a 200-man business of the equal size, because she's 201 man by herself. And she's grown and she has extra people now, so she's even getting bigger and better. So just wanted to give you some qualifications of what a great team we have that's helping us make all of our cool automations. So to get right into the system, I want to tell you a little bit more about Hanson McClain. First thing, we were started in 1993 by Pat McClain and Scott Hanson. They're two really innovative guys. If you ever get a chance, they have a radio show in Sacramento out of 15:30 a.m. And if you ever listen to them, they're extremely funny, and they're very, very innovative. And they, one of the main things that they drive for is that they wanted to grow the business and be able to offer a service level that was parallel or unsurmounted by any others. They wanted to give you the best service they possibly could, but also be able to have the ability for them to grow and offer that to as many people as they can, because believe it or not, they want to have lots of clients and make a lot of money. But they've also noticed that sometimes you have to increase the staff to such a huge proportion that you don't make any money. So they realized very early on that technology was going to be the secret to allowing them to have the best quality service, the most clients, and keep the costs down. So when it came to, we were looking for ways to manage our documents, because initially we were a paper organization, we'd shuffle documents from person to person, and we would find they get lost, they took a long time to process, we were having a lot of problems. So we decided to go to invest in some technology, and so we initially started with a proprietary document management system. And it meant that as an independent RIA, that means that we deal with a multitude of broker-dealers. So having one that's only allowed to manage the documents for one place did not seem to work for us. So we started looking, and we found a little product called Laserfiche. Okay, so actually initially we found BPM, which is where we were started. But then we went out and we wanted to find something that was not specific. So then we found a little product called Laserfiche. And so rather than me telling you about how awesome we were, I'll let Sheila tell you how maybe awesome we weren't at the time.
Okay, so when we first started to engage with Hanson McClain, they were using a product called BPM that is proprietary to the custodian they had at the time. They had one custodian. What they were looking to do, they already knew they were going to a second custodian, so they wanted a product that would be able to grow and expand with them. Now, Hanson McClain, as Barry mentioned, they're very dynamic. It's a very dynamic company. So they really needed a product that was going to be flexible enough. what they had, they did have a document management product, but it wasn't flexible. So what we were looking to do is kind of take what they had, make it better, and allow it to expand. So BPM was the custodian's document management system that is, it meets compliance. So they also, well, we already talked about the recognizing scalable solution. So what we did is we developed probably 80, 90 workflows that all work together, that are very flexible. So if their organization changes, they only have to change one module in order to make the whole thing work again the way they want it to. So we made it very compartmentalized, so it's very quick and easy to change. And that's, for Hanson McClain, that was a huge need. So, and then Barry took the workflows and ran with them. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sheila. So believe it or not, we actually got our implementation set up in June of 2011. Our implementation included, we were still kind of an organization that had a lot of our clients come in, so we had to have physical papers still for initial signatures. But then we used barcodes to pull the system, pull the documents into our system, which gave us a very good accuracy because they weren't manually indexing them. And then the system was able to go from person to person to person, get all the approvals, and then automatically submit it to the custodian, to multiple custodians, 1 or 5 or 10, how many of you are associated with. The thing that was nice about that is it gave us a lot of automation in there, and it didn't require very much human intervention. Now, of course, every system you set up, you think is perfect when you set it up. And so, unfortunately, as the years have progressed, we've noticed some things that we would like to improve upon. But we didn't want to change the whole system because it was working. It was working really well. As a matter of fact, we joke that some of the systems were designed so well that I forgot how to fix them because I don't have to fix them. There's just no need. They're really well written. And the modularity that Sheila mentioned gives you a ton of flexibility in the ability, so that when people change their mind and they want to do something a little different, we can change it very easily. We don't have to rewrite all the code. You just change one module, change it there, and then it affects every other workflow. So, and some of the cool innovations that they built in was we also built our check blotter into the system. We were able to build in submission through SFTP, email, or fax. So it's a very flexible and very powerful system as it stands yesterday. Now, of course, I mentioned earlier on the conversation that Hanson McClain is a culture of dynamic culture, and it likes to change. Actually, let me back up. I was telling you all this stuff cool about Laserfiche. One of the things that we were able to see from BPM to Laserfiche is we took our projects from taking a paperwork from about 5 to 10 days, which was the normal submission through BPM, down to about 1 or 2 days in a good scenario. So we did see a lot of improvements. We were able to put in alerts to notify us if things were sitting around, notify the managers, with the escalation paths. Excellent product, did not exist in any of our former products. So Laserfiche was a winner for us. But, as I mentioned, culture of change. So our CRM that we currently have, we actually use a hybrid between Salesforce for our marketing department and Juncture for the main staff. And we have a bunch of integrations between that. And Hanson McClain, they were at a show and they saw this great new CRM product and said, we've got to change to a web-based CRM because, of course, that is the new killer phrase out there. So they went out and they didn't ask, but they just selected a new CRM. And they came back to me. And so with the advent of a new CRM, we saw the opportunity to go back and radically change our process, our document processing system. And we realized that we didn't actually have a choice. We had to change it radically because what we were used to with Juncture and Salesforce is we had access to the back-end database and a bunch of other cool stuff, and I don't want to get too propeller head on you, but it was very easy and we had a ton of options with it. But with the new CRM and with a lot of new cloud-based CRMs, you don't always get the choice of what you have access to. So we wanted to make the system better, more flexible, and able to work with a much more wide variety of CRMs so that just in case they change their mind again, I don't have to redesign the system. So some of the stuff that we wanted to do with this new challenge is we wanted to increase our efficiencies and our scalability so that if Hanson McClain gets their wish and we go from a $2 billion RIA to a $100 billion RIA, fingers crossed, then we'll be able to handle it. We also wanted to, in this era of fraud and security leaks, and we didn't want to be on the front page about someone stealing all of our data and getting access to our clients. So we wanted to increase those things and protect our clients more. We also wanted to look for better interoperability between a multitude or variety of systems and be able to add in new systems as we needed to, because we know it's a changing culture out there and new things are always coming out that's bigger, better, stronger, and faster. And if possible, we wanted to put in more automation. We just, one of the things we learned is that while our barcode was great, unfortunately, when you allow a person to make choices twice, meaning that they go into the form filling software, they pick something once, and then later when the documents come back, they go and pick it again. We found that people sometimes will select different options even though it hasn't changed. And then you get inaccurate data and NIGOs and not in good order. If you're not in the industry, it means you failed, it was incorrect. And we wanted to eliminate a lot of that. So we were looking at hoping to making these changes and giving ourselves a new, fresh facelift. So to kind of give you an overview of exactly what we were looking for, we wanted to have data, our client's data in our CRM. We wanted to then be able to push that client's data into a form filling software. And we also, just to make a point of this, we also wanted to be able to work with multiple form filling softwares, because we realized that while Laser Apps, which is the one we chose, and I'll go over that in a minute, is great, there's sometimes where it doesn't meet my needs, and there's sometimes where it won't meet everybody's needs. So we decided we wanted to have more flexibility around that. We also wanted to deliver the content to the client in a more secure manner. We felt that mail sometimes, believe it or not, can be stolen out of the boxes, and do we really know who's signing it? I mean, we really don't at the end of the day. So we wanted to find a better way and a faster way around that. Then, of course, we wanted to get it delivered into Laserfiche as smoothly as possible and get it back out to the custodian as quick as possible so that the clients could get whatever it is that they're seeking, or that new account could be opened or whatever. So this is our goals. While we were looking at that, we also wanted to, as I mentioned, increase our efficiencies. Now, one of the reasons that we were looking at this is that, as I mentioned, when they choose things incorrectly and they get NIGOs or documents get rejected, we've seen that up to, we're hoping to reduce up to about 75% of the NIGO rates. And the reason we're able to do that is that every system or every means we have of getting documents into our system, it double checks and triple checks, and it forces you to use the automations, and it'll let you pick once. So if you make a mistake initially, it will follow you through and it will be a mistake all the way along, but you won't be asked twice. We gather the information, we hold it, and then we're able to allow our clients to not make boo-boos, if you will. The other thing we were looking for is we wanted to take a process where when the client service rep initially starts, they go to the form filling application, they get about a 60% form fill, which is, it's about standard in the industry. We wanted to escalate that to about 80 or 90% because, or even 100 if possible, because the problem that we found is that when they have to spend time going out looking for data that they should have right there at their fingertips, either in the CRM, or maybe the CRM doesn't have it in it, because you may not have control, especially with a cloud-based system, there may not be the ability to store that element of data. One example is citizenship. It's not stored in our new CRM. They don't store it there. But guess what? It's on tons of forms. So we wanted to be able to add that little element of data. We also wanted to be able to streamline that process so that we could possibly get it down to as quick as 5 minutes from time that the time that you're touching it, so that you submit the form, you're done. 5 minutes, it goes to the client, comes back, and all that's automated. You don't touch it, you don't see it, you don't have to open it up, print a barcode, none of that. But we wanted to leave the barcode in there as well, because there are some folks who just don't want to deal with any kind of automated or electronic thing. So they want to just feel a piece of paper in their hand. So those were our goals. One of the reasons why I bring this up is because, it's funny because when they have a problem, they come to me and say, why did this happen? What went wrong? And this is a recent thing that happened before we've made the change. We had a client come in on, let me see here. She came in on, okay, first, let me change slides because I'm going too fast. So what we found out there, what we wanted to have the overall design of this new system be, was that we wanted to have the data go from our CRM into an intermediary product, which we call LFI plus Web. LFI plus Web stands for Laserfiche Integration plus Web. Then we wanted to take it from there, send it off to our form filling software, which we've chosen Laser App Anywhere. Then we wanted to bring it back into LFI Plus Web once it's all being filled out, and then submit it through DocuSign, which is our favorite electronic signature software. Again, it would work with probably most of them, but DocuSign had a really well-developed SDK, and they were very, very secure, and their model increased a lot of things and met our goals. The next part, of course, we wanted to bring it back into our system, and then to get into Laserfiche, I wanted to give a little plug here, because one of the problems we had is that when you get the data back, it's in typically in a PDF or a TIFF format, and you get a file that's called a metadata, or an XML, which you guys are probably all accustomed to. But then you need to get it into Laserfiche. Well, we were starting to write this project, but we were really busy, and so I went to Sheila and said, Sheila, we're really busy. Do you have any ideas on this? And she found this great little company called Blue Lake Software. And the reason why I highly recommend them, or I mention them here, is because in the 2 years that we've been using them, I have literally had to call one time because we had a problem, and the problem was actually my fault. And he showed me what the problem was. They called back immediately. I had less than 15 minutes waiting for them, and it was actually one of the head developers who called. And then not only that, another time they actually called me and said, hey, we want to upgrade your stuff because we put a feature in there for you that we think you need. So they're dynamically looking how they can serve me, and all for a very reasonable cost. And so I thought, this is important to plug these kind of guys, because they are really, it's a worthwhile company, so we use that to get the data into Laserfiche, and then from Laserfiche, of course, we'll use all our workflows, and we'll move on to the custodian. We'll talk about that a little bit more when I go show you the screenshots. I think we're doing the time. So we'll actually hop in right into the process that we actually will run. In this system, the way we would start it, of course, is we would typically start in the CRM, and we would go to our client's contact record. Here, this client is me, because unfortunately, clients don't like their data to be shown for some reason. I don't know why, but all of my stuff, feel free to write it down. That's actually not my home number or my home number. Oh, actually, that is an old home number. So if you go into for this system, one of the problems we found is that with Tamarack specific, they don't actually have an open API available. What that means is the ability for their system to talk to other systems very easily. So we had to figure out a way to kind of work around that. And so as we designed our system, we designed to look at what can we get or what can't we get. I was really excited to hear that the new Laserfiche connector is coming out, because I'm hoping that will actually be helpful if we want to integrate it into our product down the road. But we didn't have that at that point, so we didn't know about it. So we actually figured out a way to make it work without it. So the way you do it in our system is that you'd actually open up the contact record. You'd go and you'd select Laser App. This will automatically invoke a process that will actually call our application. So what it does, it then calls our application, and it brings you down to LFI Plus Web. You'll notice that it has the client's data selected. Now what it's done is it's also taken all the metadata from that client, and it's brought it down into our system. And we then now have access to all of that data. You also will notice that if you look at this page here, you'll see that you can see a bunch of other client documents here. Sorry. Click this correctly. And what these documents are is any open or pending documents for the client, so that you can quickly see what they have available, what they have out there. You'll also notice that on the right-hand side here, we have the ability to disposition the document, meaning that if I haven't already selected how I want to have it delivered, or I want to re-deliver it, I can choose a barcode there, or I can choose DocuSign, or I can choose to just put it right into Laserfiche immediately. We wanted to give some flexibility because we know people change their minds. So these are the options here when you're initially doing the document. So to actually walk you through a new application process, we'll already assume that we went from the CRM, that we've dropped down in here, and we actually want to start a new application. So one of the things that's kind of nice is that if you look here, we want to select a brokerage account. So if the client's already had a brokerage account that you've dealt with, it will have that listing here. That's very nice if the client is an existing client and you're filling out something like a transfer of assets or some other form that would be already out there. However, if they don't have an account and it's a brand new client, you'd actually be able to select a new account. And what that would do is we realized we wanted to be able to have a lot of custodians don't give you a pre-assigned account number, meaning that when you're doing this paperwork, you don't have the information you need or all of it. So we wanted to design a system that would allow you to take care of that, because unfortunately we figured out in our first go-around that If you put the word pending in there, sometimes they don't go back and change it. And so there you have 500,000 documents in your store with the word pending in the brokerage account. So we wanted to fix that. So and then also some documents don't need they don't need a brokerage account. So if your client sends you a Christmas card, which account do you assign it to? You don't. But you have to put it in the system. So we were able to, so you select your account, whether it's a new account or not, and then you simply click the little laser apps icon over there. And that will initiate you and pull you over to our system here. And what this does, again, you'll notice that we have the client's name, the brokerage account information. You see the principal advisor there, so you can change that if you need to. You can then select any custodian that you want, so that we have a drop down here, and you can simplify the list or make it as complex as you want. In this particular instance, we have every custodian under the sun listed up there. Once you select the custodian, it gives you the available document types that you can choose. This also we simplify down so that you can choose form groups as well. So that if you're bringing on a new client and there's 7 applications you need, you're able to group those together, click one button, and it launches them all. Now, earlier I mentioned that once you select the documents, I'd mentioned that one of the things we wanted to get to is that we wanted to be able to include elements into the document that weren't normally included with LaserApp, because we realized that some form filling software, unfortunately, they just can't do everything. They can meet most of your needs, but not all of them. So we wanted to add some additional enhancements, because why not? It's our program. So what we added, if you look down there, is you'll see additional data required. And what you notice there is you see an account number with a pound sign and an asterisk next to it, and then it says citizenship. Yes, I spelled it a little incorrectly there. I noticed after I took the screenshot I was looking at last night, but this might be a boat you're buying or something. And your mother's maiden name is the other thing. Now, what's nice about this is the star, the asterisk, means that it's a required element of data, that we're going to ask you for that and you're going to give it to us, otherwise you won't get past us. Citizenship, you'll notice an exclamation point and a star. That means we've never asked you for this before, so we don't know the data. Once you give it to us, we will store it and it will be there, so that next time you come through, it'll just automatically do it. The last item there's mother's maiden name, which again, it's not required, but we're going to ask you anyway, and we've never asked you before. So if you give us all those elements, anytime you do a form for this client, any other brokerage firm, it'll store that data, so that anytime you refer back to it, we're trying to get that form fill rate from 60 to as close to 100% as we can. So in this particular instance, we added 3 elements. You could add 25 if you wanted. The other thing that's really important to recognize here is that one of the downsides, if you start putting in your own elements, LaserApp wants you to do a custom form for each style sheet, for each one. That's why I have the expert over there, so he can correct when I'm wrong. Don't worry, we only have 8,000 forms, and you just have to update those every time something changes. We didn't think that sounded like fun, so we wanted the system to figure it out for you and track that and change and just fix it automatically. So this is a self-learning system, so that we don't have to go back and fix it. We have it all, we've got it all in the design, so that it catches. If they change the form on us, it's going to say, hold up, we don't have this information. We're going to ask you again so we can get this information and make sure it's right. We hope that they don't change it very often, but no promises, right? Okay, so once you're done choosing all these things, you're going to hit send it to LaserApp. When you do that, it'll bring you to, it's going to give you one more chance now. Here's going to say, now you've got 3 applications you're sending. You may not want to send them all the same way. Or you may want to just keep going. You don't have to choose here, but if you do, we're going to give you the option of choosing a barcode here. If you choose barcode, of course, that's going to be sent out via snail mail to the client. They're going to send it all back to us, and then we're going to put it with a barcode, scan it in the system. It's going to be injected into Laserfiche. The improvement we made here, as I mentioned earlier, is that the barcode is generated at the time that you create the application, so that they don't have to select again. We already know the custodian, we know the document type, and we know the brokerage account number. And if you didn't provide us a brokerage account number, we're going to say, hey, you have to give us this before going to Laserfiche. So that way, again, we were looking for errors that were made. We don't want to make them again, and these are mistakes we made in the past. The next thing here is DocuSign. Now, DocuSign is the way you want everybody to go. This is how you're going to get the highest efficiencies. You're going to be able to turn from a 2-hour document processing, or maybe even with our new system, hopefully down to, let's say, an hour or hour and 15 minutes. This is where you're going to get down to 5 minutes, because candidly, once you get it form filled, you're done. It goes all the way back into Laserfiche and goes to the workflow, and it's ready to go. This is what we are pushing. Unfortunately, again, we recognize that not everybody wants to do it the same way, so we wanted some flexibility. The last option is to directly inject it into Laserfiche. This would have, for our firm, we probably won't use this very much, but it would have some ability if we were setting it up in the future where they want to have scan to folders and you could do some direct linking and things like that. But it has flexibility and growth if we want to add that feature at a later point. That was our goal, at least. Now, some of the optional things I wanted to bring up is sometimes clients get used to having a great application and they don't want to go back into the CRM and look it up because they already know that they've just done a form for Barry Chapman and they want to do another one for him. So why do you got to go back clear to the CRM and start over again? So we thought, let's let them go in here and select a client. Just open up the website, give it a real easy URL, and so they can just type in LFI plus web and .hansonmcclain.com, pulls it up, and they're able to put in, it also does one of the things to take note about that security thing. So just in case somebody else decides to put it in there, if they go in there, it does Active Directory integration, so it automatically recognizes your user and makes sure that somebody outside can't get into it. It's all done through HTTPS, meaning it's all secure. It's designed to lock down. We also have locked down every outside source except for our IPs. If we have somebody else who needs to use it, we can install a little client that will help us make sure the security stays there. It's important to us, but we also want to give it flexibility so that in this case, you can go in and you're able to see, as Barry Chapman, as the agent, I'm able to see all the clients that I have out there. I'm able to see Sally Smith and Bob Hope and Karen Abbott and Barry Chapman and see any documents they have pending for me. So this list could get kind of long, but it's nice because as an agent or user of the system, I can instantly see all the documents I have out there. Then from there, we're able to go in and hit the magnifying glass and do a search and look for any clients. We did design the system. Again, we were trying to design more bells and whistles. We wanted to make it so that as you're typing the name in there, it would be a predictive typing system so that it was able to go in there and help you find the right person so that you didn't make mistakes. Now in this instance here, so you see there's a Barry Chapman and it has a comment there. What it's supposed to have is my address. And then there's another Chapman, which I guess he didn't want to tell you your name, but Hikoti and Mariah and Moana, those are all my relatives, so I could show you their stuff. But you notice it has an address here, so that way you might be able to differentiate if you have a bunch of Chapmans, like I do in this case, hopefully pick the right one. Once you click it there, it automatically puts in the advisor's name, it pulls all the data that you have in there, you don't have to make another choice. So hopefully we'll limit errors and mistakes, because that's one of our goals, to make sure our client service folks and users can not make mistakes. So one of the things that we wanted to also talk about here is that, and I didn't really realize that this is a great innovation until I talked to the folks at Laserfiche, and they're like, wow, you could do this? So one of the coolest parts of that I've taken for granted is that the way our workflows work, and I mentioned earlier, is that when it goes into Laserfiche and we're able to go through all the modular workflows that we have, one of the nice things that we have is that we're able to submit it to a multitude of custodians via a multitude of ways. We have some that require SFTP. We're able to use that, a secure file transfer protocol. We use eFax. We use email. We use secure email. Just a variety of ways, and it's all done automatically. And there's a log and a web page that they can go and check the status, so they can see where that document's at, what's been done. Unfortunately, of course, when you're submitting with eFax, it doesn't tell you, hey, they processed it, they liked it, or anything else. It just tells you you sent it to them. But with some of this custodians, we're actually able to get back acknowledgement files and say, hey, they got it, it was successful, everything's there. And they can go to a single place to look at that and see what's going on. So a lot of power there, and a lot of our custodians like it. Because one of the things that we also send when we fax it is that we send a cover page with that barcode on it. And it says who your client service rep is, who it's going to, so that if you accidentally sent it to the wrong custodian, they might say, hey, you just sent us something for one of our competitors, please don't do that again, or any of those things. So that we wanted to make sure we made it as smart as possible, because we talked to people who had worked with the custodians. We asked, hey, if you got a fax, what do you do? He said, we don't know who it is, instantly we throw it away. I thought, gosh, that might be a problem. So I want to make sure that when I send stuff to people that we have some acknowledgments or, as much chance of actually having success as possible. Hopefully with our new system, they won't send it to the wrong custodian anyway, but just in case. Okay, so let's see here. Sorry, I have... Okay, so I have moved along at a great rate. I think, unfortunately, I get nervous. I talk a little fast. So that means that we're going to have a little extended question and answer time. So, you have any questions for us?
Got one right here.
Two questions.
Sure.
One, why did you move from the Juncture and Salesforce app to Tamarack when it sounds like it gave you certain limitations that you need to deal with?
Sure.
And I'll ask you both. And then on the workflow engine, rules engine, that part, are you using the native engine in Laserfiche, or did you create something in your application?
Sure. So to answer the first question, Pat and Scott love technology, and sometimes they get off, as advisors will, and they're the owners, and so they see something shiny and new, and they say, hey, that looks good. So sometimes they don't actually consult us. I will say Tamarack XI has some exciting integration. So I mentioned the XI part because it actually brings in a suite of products that work together and give you some pretty cool integrations.
It's just not with documents.
Yeah, it's just not unfortunately with document processing. They do actually have a Laserfiche integration, which if anybody in the room is using it, one of the downsides they'll find is that they're unable to use the metadata workflow because it doesn't give it to you unless you feel like typing it all in again. And don't worry, you'll only make a few hundred mistakes on a few thousand clients. That's okay. I don't like that. I want zero mistakes. So, but I do think Tamarack's going to bring a lot of it. We are going to be in the web and the cloud, and that's great. And it has some security, and they can use it all over the place. So I do believe it's a good way for us to go. But I didn't make the selection. Pat and Scott did. So, and then to answer the second question, we are using the native built-in workflow engines. We do use some ancillary products to support it, and we do use some scripting. But primarily, we stick with what's built right in because it works. It's pretty much, for us, it's been bulletproof. I mean, it's very, very efficient. We've had in the last 2 years, we've run into a handful of problems, but those are usually issues where I've made a mistake in logic and I have to go back and refix it. But when Sheila does it, it always works. When I do it, it usually works. So, yes?
In terms of ROI, reduction in operations cost, client retention, and new clients. Can you put a number on that? Or?
Real numbers, we just recently made that change. And so the real numbers, I can only make an estimation. And the reason where I think we're going to see reduction in client costs is because I know personally that over the years we've estimated that we get on migration paperwork and things like that, we have about a 30% loss on documents that we send out to clients where we mail them. We're hoping to see that number drop dramatically because it's a hope. I don't have any hard numbers to support that. The other part of it is that if you can get a client service rep that can fill out a document in 5 minutes, where they don't have to go in and hunt and find the data, where they don't have to package it, put a stamp on it, mail it to the client, and then when it comes back, they have to open it up, print a barcode, put it back in the system. We're hoping to see real time savings in just simple process that they don't have to touch it again. And then client retention, our hope is that clients will recognize that we're trying to find the best ways to serve them and to secure their information. Because in an electronic age where you put something in a box and any stranger can walk up and take it from your box, that's scary. I live in a neighborhood where I see a lot of the older folks. We have, our mailbox built in the side of our house, and I see them putting outgoing mail with a paper clip to the thing there. And I'm thinking, oh my, as an IT person, I'm partially paranoid and don't trust anybody, but just about with my data, but that's where we live. And unfortunately, with that generation we're dealing with, they're a very trusting lot, and we want to protect them. We want to have systems that automatically have flags and warn us. And that's one of the things that will tell you that, for example, that Sheila built into our workflow process. When a distribution request comes out, it automatically flags, if it's over a certain amount, it will automatically flag the advisor and let them know, hey, this request just came through. They usually had to approve it anyway, but we send them an extra email saying it's over this much, be alerted, so that we can protect them. So when human beings don't have to make the choices, we found that there's a lot less mistakes made.
That's great. Also, how did you choose your CRM?
That comes back to the first question. And it really, I think that, MS CRM is basically it's the fundamental part of Tamarack MS CRM, and it is a solid system out there. It is a very well put together one. I think what it has to do with more than nothing, if I were to make a stab in the dark, is because they've integrated a suite of products together, and they were able to bring in with XI. This isn't a plug for Tamarack. I'm just telling you what all it has in it. They're able to bring in a rebalancer product. They're able to bring in a trading product, and they're able to bring in brokerage account management software and the CRM, and kind of bundle it all into one view, so you can see everything very easily. So the theory is that it'll offer us a lot more power and ability to react and be more responsive. So,
Thank you.
yep.
How do you integrate with eFax? Do you have an inbound integration and outbound, and is workflow the trigger for that, or is that a manual process?
No, actually, that's one of the things that we found, unfortunately, when we went out and looked for something that was an integration. There is actually an integration, believe it or not, for all of these products right through Laserfiche. Unfortunately, I love Laserfiche, so as I say this, please don't take this the wrong way. It wasn't robust and it wasn't automated. It was very manual, and we don't need manual. We want automation. So what we actually do is that we pull it into our LFI Plus web product, and we submit it out through there. And we use a connection to, we actually use Office 365 for our email hosting. So we went from an on-site Exchange server to a hosted Exchange server, and we're still able to pull it into our product, send it out, and most of it's done through email. So it's just done through a secure email, so that, but it is faxed. eFax is what we use.
So you secure email it to eFax?
Correct. We have a TLS encrypted, or in English, it's encrypted from our site to their site, and then they fax it out. So is anybody who knows anything about security, faxes are the least secure way to communicate. Ours are at least secure until they leave eFax. So that's the best we could do.
Hi there.
Hi.
Are you getting any pushback from, first of all, how do you interact with entities that are outside the organization that aren't in Laserfiche? And obviously they can't come in and see your Laserfiche documents, your repository. It sounds like you're automatically using workflow and your internal application to eFax or to do secure email. And then are you getting any pushback from them on the DocuSign as far as it being, that's an electronic signature, right, not a digital signature?
Correct. And actually, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, because what we found is that when we initially started testing it, people were so impressed with the security questions they were asked to make sure that it's really them. And when we talked to the advisors, we said, look, you need to sell this thing and make sure you explain to them, this isn't just to make their life more miserable to ask them a bunch of silly questions, but the level of questions that they're able to ask that will so thoroughly identify the individual. One that made me laugh is that it sent, when I actually tried it the first time, it asked me what color was my 1972 Gran Torino that I owned. I was like, how the heck do they know that? But they did. They had it right. So our clients see this, they're kind of excited to see that we're trying to protect them. And the very fact is that if they don't want to do it that way, we'll do physical documents still. That's why we had to have that in the system, because some of our clients just don't want to do it that way. So.
Sure. So, and then what are you using for your designated third-party requirement?
Say one more.
Your designated third-party requirement?
That is Advisor Vault for our D3P. Yeah, Advisor Vault. They work really well. As a matter of fact, it's one of the systems that works so well that when there's a problem, their tech calls me and says, hey, Barry, there's a problem. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he just says, can we log in real quick and fix it? And I like companies who realize that I have more to do than just this. So as much as I wish I could just do Laserfiche all day long and work in LFI, because I love my little baby here, unfortunately, they make me do other stuff too. So I want people to be monitoring our processes and make sure they're working correctly and alert me when they're not.
So are you providing a copy of your repository on DVD and then?
Well, yeah, well, initially what they do is they do a backup of all the systems, and then they just do a delta on it. So it's just a delta backup. So it does any changes daily that goes up to them. So DP3, if you guys don't know, is just basically there's a requirement to make you meet all of the SEC and FINRA requirements. You have to have your data backed up to a third party that you have no control over, and they have to meet certain requirements. So, because when I heard D3P the first time, I was like, what the heck is that? So,
And they have, it's like it has a mini version of Laserfiche on it, so they can actually see it in, because it's not in a readable file structure, so they can actually see it that way, right?
correct.
I just thought of one more quick one. Are you using your application as the hub versus the CRM and everything appearing in the CRM?
Correct. When you run into, one of the the challenge you'll face when you want to be able to work with multiple CRMs is you have to make sure you take into account that some CRMs will not have the ability for you to put data back into them. So that's why we are the hub. But honestly, we can also adjust quite as easily to not be the hub. We can take and push the data right in there. That's what we currently do, because we're using a majority of the systems. We were using them before we even left Juncture. So we were actually injecting the data, but we wanted to be flexible enough to work with anything, because quite candidly, Pat and Scott are such innovators. I never know, 2 months from now or a year from now, they may say, hey, we're going to this CRM. We're going to Juncture on the cloud. I'm like, oh, great. But it'll mean I have to change everything again. So,
Depending on where Laserfiche goes with their signature, would Forms ever be a potential replacement for the DocuSign piece? Because I've priced that in the past. It's a pretty expensive solution.
yeah, I understand where you're coming with on that. Forms would be, and honestly, if they we initially wanted to use Forms, so we were really excited by it. I will be honest, I think Forms has a lot of potential, and I'm really excited to see where they go with it. We weren't quite ready. It's not quite ready for us yet, because we needed a little more automation. Sheila did a lot of really cool stuff with it. Unfortunately, there was just a little bit of, I think there's a little bit of maturity going to come with that, and when it does mature, I think it's going to be something we're going to put right into here. That's one of the reasons why I'm glad to have my developer, because he's been going to all the SDK classes and the Forms. He's like, yeah, we're going to use some of these new things. I was like, great, all right, so I'm excited. So yeah, we will, hopefully.
More questions? Yes.
Did you guys consider ARX cosign?
Honestly, when I looked, the principal reason I used DocuSign, I'll be honest with you, I went out there and looked, and I knew which one do I get most often to sign, and it's DocuSign. So I know it's an industry leader. I loved their security. I just thought, what an interesting model that they use, and it's pretty accurate. So that's why we would actually, like I said, what's nice about this is any piece of this could be changed, so long as the catch to me would be, are they a company that wants to collaborate with others? Because if you have a developer on your staff, or if you are a developer, if you go look at the tools that are given freely from DocuSign, they are awesome and very well documented. That's the key. The same thing that we found with Laserfiche is that as we wanted to integrate with them, they're there for you. They're helping. The same thing we found with Laserfiche. All three of these partners that we went with, they were falling over themselves to help us. That's how quick they were. And that's why I recommend them. That's why I gave you a little plug for Blue Lakes earlier, because if you're not that way, I don't do business with you. I don't want to have to chase you and beg you, and I'm giving you money, so I want you to give me service and love. That's a requirement. So I would look at somebody else, but at this point, that's why we chose them, is because they are very, from a developer side of the world, they're very friendly and very helpful. So.
We've chosen them, but we haven't gotten started with it yet with ARX cosign. But the reason we went with them is because it is a true digital signature that is authenticated even outside of the system. So when we send our investor a document that's been signed with ARX cosign, that signature is authenticated even when they look at it on their own computer.
Sure. And so again, it would boil down to interoperability. So we would look at, we're never, that's one of the things, the dynamic nature of our company. It's like the weather in New York. If you don't like it, just wait. Same thing with Hanson McClain.
We could switch. It'd be we could probably support both if we had to.
Yeah.
It would just be another piece.
What about audit records out of Laserfiche? What kinds of audit reports are you creating out of Laserfiche that you have found helpful from a compliance standpoint, for example?
Interestingly enough, crossing my fingers, we have not had to do a lot of audit reporting. We do have the ability, and I pulled quite a bit of stuff. When they came in last time for an audit, we were able to pull this stuff very quickly, and most of it was just I built it on the fly, because we use Audit Trail and we capture everything. So you can go back and pull the data so easily that I don't have any canned reports. I just build what they want on the fly. Again, it's one of those things where it works so well that we so infrequently have to use it that I usually have to go back and read the instructions again. What do I do here, and how do I build this report? Or I have my pro, and she can log in and help me with it, if she's not in Disneyland at a convention.
Yes.
Did you look at the Laser app to DocuSign integration when you guys did that?
It's actually built in as part of ours. We do use it. And that's I meant to mention that as one of the strengths. One of the downsides of doing anything with DocuSign or any e-sign signature company, what you'll find is that you are responsible for what they call hanging the form or setting it up.
Right.
We chose the integration between Laser app and DocuSign because they take care of that. And as I mentioned, in our forms library, we've got about 9,000, a little short of 9,000 documents. And if you think I want to go in and rehang a document every time they make a change, no.
Right.
LaserApps handles all of that. So we actually leverage their integration.
Yep, okay.
Any more questions? Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Barry and Alan and Sheila. And let's give them one more round of applause.